A tale of broken wings and renewed spirits. The golden eagle fell from the sky like a meteor, his magnificent wings no longer able to catch the wind. For 7 years, Shadow had ruled the mountain skies over Colorado, his wings spanning 6 feet from tip to tip. But in a single moment, everything changed. The power lines appeared out of nowhere as he dove for a rabbit, and the collision sent electricity coursing through his body. When Shadow awoke, he couldn't move his left wing. Pain shot through him like fire, and the ground, a place eagles were never meant to linger, pressed against his body. He tried to take flight 3 times, each attempt ending in greater agony than before. The mighty hunter had become prey. Miles away, Dr. Emma Wilson stared at her resignation letter. 10 years at Mountain Wildlife Rehabilitation Center had left her exhausted and heartbroken. Too many animals she couldn't save. Too many sleepless nights wondering if she had done enough. Her supervisor had begged her to reconsider, but Emma's mind was made up. Tomorrow would be her final day. "Dr. Wilson, emergency call," shouted Trent, the young intern whose enthusiasm hadn't yet been crushed by reality. "A golden eagle down near Cooper's Ridge. Fish and Wildlife located it, but need our help." Emma sighed, tucking her letter into her desk drawer. "One last rescue," she murmured. The journey to Cooper's Ridge was treacherous. Rain poured from angry clouds as Emma and Trent navigated muddy roads that threatened to swallow their truck whole. "The universe is testing me," Emma said, knuckles white as she gripped the steering wheel. "Or maybe it's giving you one more chance to remember why you started this work," Trent replied, his eyes fixed on the GPS. When they finally reached the site, Emma's heart sank. The eagle was magnificent even in his broken state. Feathers the color of burnished gold, eyes like fierce amber jewels, but his wing hung at an unnatural angle, and blood matted the feathers near his shoulder. "He's beautiful," whispered Trent. "He's dying," Emma corrected, the weight of another potential failure settling on her shoulders. Capturing Shadow required all of Emma's experience. Even injured, the eagle fought with surprising strength, his talons and beak weapons honed by nature. When Emma finally managed to secure him in a transport case, her arms bore several deep scratches. "Why fight so hard?" she asked the eagle as they drove back through the storm. "We're trying to help you." Shadow's response was a defiant stare that seemed to say, "Freedom or death. There is no middle ground." Back at the rehabilitation center, X-rays revealed multiple fractures in Shadow's wing. The power line collision had done significant damage, and Emma knew that many centers would opt for euthanasia. A wild eagle that cannot fly is no eagle at all. "We could keep him for education," suggested Dr. Marquez, Emma's colleague. "He'd never survive in the wild with injuries like these." Emma studied Shadow's eyes, not dulled by pain, but burning with a fierce will to live. "No," she said firmly. "We're going to fix his wing. He's going back to the sky." The surgery lasted 4 hours. Emma worked with meticulous precision, using titanium pins to reconstruct Shadow's shattered wing bones. When she finally stepped back from the operating table, sweat dripping from her brow, she knew she had done everything possible. But would it be enough? "Now we wait," she told Trent. Days turned into weeks. Shadow remained in a special enclosure, his wing bound in a careful position to promote healing. Emma postponed her resignation, telling herself it was just until Shadow's fate was determined. Each morning she arrived early to check on him, and each evening she was the last to leave. "You know why I named him Shadow?" she asked Trent one day as they changed the eagle's bandages. "Because he's always there in my mind, even when I'm not here." Shadow's recovery was neither quick nor easy. There were infections that required additional treatments, and days when the eagle refused to eat. Emma hand-fed him, speaking in soft tones about the mountains and skies that waited for him. "Don't give up," she told him during a particularly difficult night, when Shadow seemed to have lost his will to fight. "You're stronger than this. We both are." As if understanding her words, Shadow turned his fierce gaze upon her. In that moment, something passed between them, a recognition of kindred spirits, both trapped, both fighting to be free. 3 months after the rescue, Emma removed Shadow's bandages for the final time. The wing had healed remarkably well, though whether he would ever fly again remained uncertain. It was time to move him to the outdoor recovery enclosure, a massive aviary where Shadow could test his wings. For days, Shadow simply perched on the highest branch, his wing held slightly away from his body. Emma watched anxiously, hope and fear battling within her heart. "He might never fly again," Trent said gently one afternoon. "He will," Emma insisted. "He has to." On the 7th day, as Emma was filling Shadow's water trough, she heard a whooshing sound. Looking up, she saw the eagle gliding awkwardly from one perch to another. Not true flight, but a start. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Over the next month, Shadow's flights grew stronger. He circled the enclosure with increasing confidence, his wing occasionally dipping but holding firm. Emma spent hours watching him, her resignation letter now forgotten in her desk drawer. "You've changed since Shadow arrived," observed Dr. Marquez. "You smile more." Emma nodded. "He reminded me why I do this work. Every animal deserves a fighter in their corner." 6 months after his fall from the sky, Shadow was ready for release. The team chose a remote mountain ridge, far from power lines but rich with prey. As Emma carried the transport case up the trail, she felt both joy and sorrow warring in her heart. At the cliff's edge, Emma opened the case. Shadow hesitated, then stepped out, his amber eyes taking in the vast landscape before him. "This is your world again," Emma whispered. "Go claim it." Shadow looked at her one last time, a glance that Emma would remember for the rest of her life, then spread his magnificent wings and leaped. For a heart-stopping moment, he dipped dangerously, and Emma gasped. But then his wings caught the mountain air, and he soared upward in a powerful surge. Emma watched until Shadow was just a speck against the azure sky, her heart fuller than it had been in years. On the drive back to the center, she tore her resignation letter into tiny pieces and let them fly from the window. Sometimes to heal others is to heal oneself. And sometimes the animals we save end up saving us in return. 3 months later, while hiking near Cooper's Ridge, Emma spotted a golden eagle circling majestically overhead. Whether it was Shadow or another of his kind, she couldn't be certain, but she liked to believe it was him, watching over her as she had once watched over him. 2 broken souls who had taught each other how to soar again. If you enjoyed, then watch our next video shown on screen.